welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon Reviews. 4 reviews up this week, as per usual. The first of which is Ember Knight Solitaire. So, Ember Knight Solitaire, how do I put this? It's not a straightforward game of solitaire. You know, the game that came with your basic Windows setup. And granted, there are actually hundreds and hundreds of variations of solitaire. Mm-hmm. This is something like... who else remembers Puzzle Quest?
Me.
I think so.
Yeah, it's, something more along the lines of that, but not quite. That is to say, it's got battles in it, you know, where you fight other knights or various creatures like, say, tree men, you know, or spiders.
I'm just going to take a small issue with the game here in that if you're playing against someone else, it is kind of not solitaire, even if it's another character.
Like, to be fair, these battles only happen twice in a set of levels, halfway through and at the end. And it's one of the special attractions because Ember Knight Solitaire is really selling itself on being more of a puzzle game than a game of solitaire. You know, it does operate on the mechanics of solitaire. It's got 3 variants in it. It's got higher, lower. You know, the one where you place a card one number higher or lower. It's also a simplified version of solitaire because suits don't matter. Colors don't matter. That's the big one. Like, you don't have to worry about having...
Yeah, a lot of versions of solitaire, you have to go match by either color or suit when you're going higher or lower.
Yeah. So,
or at least the goal is to get them all in the same suit or color.
Right. And it's only the single card variant because probably the most famous kind of solitaire, at least, you know, the one that Microsoft proliferated, was the 3 card variety. And there are profound differences between 3 card and 1 card. Basically, it comes down to the single card version being much more difficult, and there are actually a number of variants that are literally unsolvable.
Yeah, there's a reason that a lot of PC solitaire games have a checker for, like, do you only want ones that are solvable? I think free cell is supposed to be always solvable, but that doesn't mean you can't fuck it up.
Right. The free cell is, once again, that is another type of solitaire.
Right. Also, was that a fucking card that just made you play a mini game of blackjack for no reason?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I am not done explaining all the mechanics of this game.
Clearly.
Like, because yes, this game also has mini games, and blackjack is not the only one. They've got, well, more traditional high-low, where you try to guess you got 4 cards. You try to guess if the next card is going to be higher or lower. You may have seen this on a game show. In fact, I think they made an actual game show about this very concept. You know, I want to say that was Card Sharks.
I think it was Card Sharks.
I believe it was.
Like, anyway, let's see. You have to do. Another one is a memory game where, you know, you match the 2 cards, and it plays like, well, memory. You've got Find the Goblet, which is basically 3 card Monty. You know, you keep the eye on the card that you want to pick, and, you know, it goes fast. Of course, since this isn't being handled by an actual human, it's actually a fair game that's winnable. And finally, you've got a match 3. Yeah, like they'll interrupt your game for a game of Bejeweled. I'm not even joking. You can even see it on one of the screenshots on the Steam page. Like,
I mean, kudos for them for variety.
yeah, and like I said, these are all pretty simple minigame kind of things. You can play them separately if you want to. I mean, they're all simple enough where there's not really a point if they're not, they've been minigame-ized. If I can create a term here. Anyway, getting back to the type of solitaire, because there are two others. There are the two of a kind, which I don't know is an actual form of solitaire, but probably is. It's like how it says, because if you're watching the footage here, you can see how the actual interplay of mechanics work. Instead of putting all the cards together and matching them up into four rows, you're basically trying to clear the board of cards. And the less cards are on the board, the better you do, with getting rid of all the cards giving you a perfect match. And the more stars you have, the more levels you can unlock. I think I'm about most of the way through the 5th set of levels, because I'm playing perfect game. Like, that can go a lot slower, let me tell you, because much like actual solitaire, like, there's some skill involved here, depending on how the layout of the cards and a lot of the power-up items. But before I get to that, let me the hardest variant is 14. Now, what that means is you've got to take the sum of numbers of 2 cards and add them up to 14. And for the purpose, face cards go up in ascending order. Jack is 11, Queen is 12, King is 13, Ace is 1. So you've got to match those specific cards. And like I said, since that requires math, that is the most complicated, but none of this is timed. So if you need to take a few seconds to make sure, oh, right, I need the Queen with the 2 card, for example, or you need to remember that 6 and 8 is 14, your basic math tables. Simple stuff to be sure, but it's more math than you usually deal with in solitaire. Solitaire is just like, how much is one more than the other in a lot of variants here. Once again, I'm not sure if 14 is an actual variant of solitaire. Wouldn't be surprised if it is, because, like I said, there's just so many variants of solitaire out there. But this is less a actual solitaire game, and it's a solitaire puzzle game, because you take one of those 3 structures and you get rid of cards. And how the game increases in challenge is, as you go on, there will be card stacks that are locked, and they're framed in the in-game paraphernalia. Like, the first lock is a crystal, and you have to get an axe card, which is buried under the other cards, in order to unlock that stack. And then the next one is a Shroud of Fog, which doesn't lock the card stack, but you have to hit it twice in order to unlock that card stack. And it will continue to stack these obstacles on and on each other. And I'll be honest, it gets kind of sloggy after just like adding 2 or 3 of these together. I'm up to like 3, 4, and not only is it a lot more limiting, it's not all that fun, if I'm being honest. But anyway, and yeah, there are a lot of items that you can get. You will get gold through your travels, beating levels, increasing your multiplier, that sort of thing. A lot of the initial items that you will get are a lot of passive stuff that will allow you to see more cards, increase your multiplier. There are card breaker items, but those are a lot more expensive. Though I will tell you, there were a lot of matches where I could have used those, because getting back to like a core critique I have with the game, it's as much as based off of luck as any variant of Solitaire is. You know, there is strategy, especially when you have chains to deal. You know, do you want to go higher or lower? If you got the opportunity to 2 cards, and usually the thing you want to puzzle out is, can you know, which one is going to get rid of more cards, that kind of thing. But there are other times, especially when you get to the end game, where you only have, like, let's say, a Queen of Hearts left, and you're not getting a Jack or a King, and it's not in the pile. You can maybe mitigate this if you get a wild card, but that requires you to have that actual wild card at that particular moment in time, and the end result is a lot of games that get less than perfect just because of dumb luck. It's just kind of how the game is structured. I think it's inherent to the actual, like, Solitaire game here. So, just worth keeping in mind that if you're going for the perfect game route, you're probably going to be at it for a while, especially as more and more traps are laden, or, locks, whatever you want to call them, and your options are more limited. And this also gets into the aspect of, you might not get to a lock until, like, say, 3/4 of the way through, and that means that stack is a lot more thick than the other ones at that point, and you don't have enough cards to get rid of it. These are the subtle things that can ruin your game of perfection, as they did many of mine. But overall, I'd say the gameplay, the whole concept is fine. Not amazing. As far as how the actual battles work out, well, they are like the regular levels, except for the fact that you got someone else flipping cards. You can actually turn that off, by the way. You can go to simple battles, and the opponent will not flip over cards. Now, unlike regular levels or regular Solitaire, if you run out of moves, it'll just give you a new set of cards to play with. The emphasis here is beating your opponent. And you've got, you will pluck off cards to do one of 2 things. You get rid of, if I'm remembering, like 5 cards, might have been 4, that'll allow you to attack. 9 or 10, that'll allow you to what is presented as defending, a shield icon. That's actually healing. And, those are your 2 options. And, honestly, beginning battles, you're going to have the advantage. You're going to have more hit points. You're going to have more defense than the creatures you face off early on. Honestly, even at where I am, the battles are still fairly easy. Also, not going to lie, you can potentially manipulate these things. You can. There's no penalty for exiting the battle, so you can just say reset the board until you can have a chain to your advantage. Now, some of this might predicate on your agility, because you're not guaranteed to start unless you buy an item for that particular purpose. Anyway, graphically, the game looks fine. Like, it's obviously no powerhouse of pixels here, but, it's got a very nice art style, very clean, very coherent art style as well. It gets the job done. Music was surprisingly good. Like, lot light, relaxing piano medleys, and some more haunting tracks. Like, I think my favorite one was really eerie and haunting with the horn. Good stuff. Now, people might be surprised that, of the soundtracks that casual games might have. But anyway, it's all a fine package. Which gets us to price. This game will run you $7.99. There's no DLC to speak of. If I remember, I'm not sure if there is a mobile version out yet. Because I do know the company that puts out these solitaire games, they do mobile versions, and this game, it's iPad, iPhone, Android, Mac, and PC. As far as mobile goes, probably would want to be playing this on an iPad. I mean, it would work on an iPhone, but honestly, the real estate on an iPhone would make, even a large one, and you see all the cards there, it'll work, but I would feel more comfortable with an iPad personally. But, you do you, so to say. But, $7.99 for, there's about 200 levels. And, it's a fair amount for the price you're getting if you're into this. And it's best played casually. I spent, usually half an hour on the game. Or, I would have it in windowed mode, click a bit, go read something, that kind of casual play. It's a casual game, so it lends itself well to that kind of play style. But it's a solid game. I've played better. Once again, it's no Puzzle Quest Challenge of the Warlords. That was quite transcendent in its meshing of genres. And even further entries in the series didn't really figure out how to work that. Looking at you, Galactrix. Anyway, Petty, do you have any of your own thoughts on Ember Knight Solitaire since you've been playing it?
So far I kind of like it, but I also like Solitaire, so...
Fair enough. Yeah. Like I said, it's...
Oh, that's not good. In the Bejeweled, I mean, the shapes still work, but in the Bejeweled, the blue rectangles and the off blue ovals are not that different in color.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this is the difference between a minigame and a game. It's Bejeweled, but it's an incredibly simplified version of Bejeweled.
It's Bejeweled bastard cousin.
Maybe toddler cousin, let's say.
Fair.
Anyway, so any other thoughts, comments, concerns, and whatnot about Ember Knight Solitaire?
Not really.
Okay. All right, so that'll about do it for, Ember Knight Solitaire here. Be sure to tune in after the break as the Galax will tackle Warshmallows.